Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda David, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Stop making funny sounds. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, David, and welcome to all of our listeners around the world. This is the Feeling Good podcast, episode 450. And it's another Ask David episode. This time we are lucky to have Matt May be joining us. Hi, Matt.
Oh, I'm the lucky one. I'm so glad to be here with you and David. Thank you, Rhonda.
Hi, Matt. I've been missing you. It's so great to have you back on the podcast. You have so many fans who miss you and love you.
Thank you, David. I miss and love you too.
Oh, it's a love fest. I'm going to read an endorsement that is another love fest. And this is from a European listener who wrote to us and said, I want to applaud both you and David for the amazing work you do to put such a useful, informative, and touching podcast together and make it available for everyone. Please transfer my deepest regards to Dr. David. I really appreciate the podcast and you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you very much. And if it weren't for fans like you who appreciate what we're doing, we wouldn't have anything to do.
Right.
And, so it's our joy to shoot the breeze and have fun hanging out. And if some of the stuff is useful or helpful to you or to other people, that's really exciting to us.
Definitely. All right. So shall we dive in?
Yeah.
We have 4 questions today. And the first one, Mark asks, is resentment ever rational? Is there any rational, logical reason to hold a grudge? Mark wrote us, hey, David, I often have interesting thoughts at night, especially after consuming gummies or cannabis cookies before bed. Ha ha. Of course, it's logical to learn from experiences and refuse to trust or give money, time, labor, loan possessions out, etc., to someone that previously screwed us over. We don't ever want to be deceived, ripped off, etc., multiple times, but beyond self-protective behaviors and assertiveness, is there any logical, rational reason to hold a grudge or maintain resentment?
Yeah, well, I'll get it started and let you guys make the wise comments. But with regard to being angry with somebody or holding a grudge against somebody or being wary because someone has screwed you over, it makes sense to be wary and to be careful and as they say, screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me. And I think there's a dark side to human nature, and it makes sense to notice. I've had a lot of people in my life who I kind of looked up to, who turned out to be not the kind of person that I thought they were, and that was a very painful experience for me, and I had to be careful to kind of avoid them because I saw that the benefits of the relationship were outweighed by the negative side, and that's not just a logical thing. It's an emotional and motivational thing as well. And so I'm just babbling incoherently, and so we'll therefore shut up and turn it over to some more knowledgeable people here, Matt and Rhonda.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic and question. The question is there any rational or logical reason to hold on to resentment?
And grudges.
and grudges.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can speak to some personal life experience there where I did feel a lot of anger and resentment towards a former neighbor of mine. And they would do things like accelerate their vehicle towards my daughter while she was learning how to walk in the driveway.
Oh, no.
And put nails in our tires of our vehicles and all kinds of harassment. And
I just hate it when people run over my children with their car.
It's upsetting, yeah, or it's threatening to. And so for a long time, I was really disturbed by feelings of anger and resentment. And I think it did feel protective. It felt appropriate in that while I was still living close by to this neighbor, I kind of wanted my guard up so that I was aware of them and at least somewhat motivated to be protective of myself and my kids. And over time, though, I realized it was really poisoning me. I think there's a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous that being angry is like drinking poison and hoping someone else will get sick. And so I worked on letting go of that anger and forgiving that person. And that was a huge relief for me. But it took a lot of work, and it really required using the motivational model to ask, why am I holding on to this anger when I'm already out of the situation? And there seemed like there were some reasons or advantages, like it would protect me, protect my family. But over time, I realized just my actions protect me and my family, not my emotions. And so I don't need to feel upset, and was ultimately able to move on from that.
I had a really neat fellow at my clinic in Philadelphia from Ireland, Tony Bates, and his wife told me a little story that after they had been learning about the 5 secrets of effective communication, that they had a house they were renting or buying or something in Ireland, and this group of Hell's Angels moved in right next door to them. And they had their Irish version of Harley choppers and wild, loud parties at night and things like that. And it was very, very irritating because these guys were disrespectful. And then she saw her little boy kind of admiring one of the motorcycles and touching it parked in front. And I don't know, somehow the Hell's Angel ran out there not wanting his motorcycle to get knocked over. And she ran out fearing for her little boy, who was probably about 4 years old. And then she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you came out. Our son Mark, or whatever his name is, has been really admiring your motorcycle, and they are so awesome and powerful looking. Would it be possible for him maybe to sit on it?" And the guy got all excited, and he said, "Oh yes, he can sit. I'll even take him on a ride around the block if you like." She said, that'd be awesome. And so they stuck up a very nice friendship with this Hell's Angel, and he was very proud and felt affectionate toward this little boy who admired him so much. And then, on another occasion, she mentioned in a very friendly way that sometimes at nights the parties get kind of loud, and we know you guys are having fun, and which is great, but it's sometimes a little wakes us up. It's not a big deal, but I just wanted to mention it. And then they quieted right down, but it was it was just forming a loving relationship with someone instead of viewing them in a distorted way and labeling them as bad people and mind reading and thinking, all they care about is themselves. And there's a lot of truth in those thoughts, because a lot of us just care about ourselves a good bit of the time. But sometimes, as you found, Matt, finding a loving response can actually, and a humble response can actually be surprisingly powerful. It's not magic. It doesn't always work, but it's more powerful than you think. But the problem is you get hypnotized when you're angry. You go into a trance, and your whole body tenses up, and you see everything in a very distorted way. But it seems realistic, and you're telling yourself, "I'm really better than those stupid Hell's Angels, crude bastards, and all they want to do is drink and have sex and ride around on their motorcycles and steal and use drugs and things like that." You get to imagine them as these awful kinds of people, and then you treat them as if they're like that, and then they actually start behaving like that. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's just some David babbling, but I loved that story.
Me too, Matt. And I love your conclusion. My actions protect me, not my thoughts.
Yeah, not my feelings, certainly. I don't need to be in a fight or flight response with elevated blood pressure in order to respond well or use the 5 secrets. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's almost impossible to use the 5 secrets if we're really angry. And so using the motivational model first, I think, is really important. And David, you've got that amazing list of the 30, I think it's over 30 reasons to blame and feel angry.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And sometimes going through that and finding which of those apply to me. Like, do I like anger because I feel it makes me feel kind of powerful or righteous? Yeah. Or do I use it as a excuse to kind of treat that person badly? Or is it just relieving guilt from me? Like, if I'm blaming them, I'm not to blame. And to see all the 30 reasons to blame someone and feel angry towards them. And then respond to those. See if you can talk back and find a rational, logical response. That makes it so much easier to let go of anger. And so I really appreciate that tool that you developed.
Yeah, I think just a simple thing with anger is a paradoxical cost-benefit analysis. Let's just list all the advantages of being angry and hanging on to your anger.
Right.
And what it shows about you that's positive and awesome. And then you can probably come up with a list of 10 or 15 things and say to the person, why in the world would you want to give that up?
Yeah.
And then they say, I don't think I would. You're right. And they say, how are you feeling now? And they say, oh, yeah, my anger just disappeared. So it's really neat if you kind of do positive reframing rather than trying to control the anger or control your own anger or control someone else's anger.
Do you think there's a place here in this process for forgiveness?
Pardon me?
Is there a place? Yes.
Well, you know what the Buddha said 2,500 years ago.
About forgiveness?
Forgiveness sucks. and the apologies suck even more. And what he was referring to is there's a healthy and an unhealthy version of everything. Mm-hmm. I had a couple who came to me, and they were really at odds with each other, and they had both done things that just enraged the other one. I think the woman had an abortion when her husband was out of town for several months on a business assignment, and she didn't tell him, and then he found out, and he was really, really crushed by that. And then to get back at her, he started having an affair with a woman that lived a block from them and staying overnight at this woman's house and really treating his wife shabbily. And in a couple's session, she would say things like, I felt so incredibly hurt, and rejected. And the kids were asking me, where's Daddy tonight? And when you were having an affair with that woman. And then the husband would say, we've already talked about this. I've already apologized. Let's get on to something else. Do you see? You have to forgive me and let's move on. And so what he was really doing is he didn't want to hear about her anger and her hurt feelings. And sometimes we use words like, apologizing and forgiveness as kind of little avoidance mechanisms. So we're going to be real nice, and I'm going to forgive you. So go fuck yourself, type of thing. And I didn't say that, but that's how people sometimes think. And I like to I favor using the 5 secrets to share feelings and to encourage other people to share their feelings and to try to I just think words like forgiveness are kind of like apologizing are kind of like quick ways to avoid dealing with feelings. Now, if you can apologize like this, you say, I really owe you an apology because I did hurt your feelings, and it's hard to talk about. It's hard to hear because I love you, and I want to hear how awful that's been for you, I'm ready to listen. Tell me how you experienced when I did that to you or whatever it was. And then you have to, confront the pain in the other person and share your own. And that's my definition of a loving relationship is the capacity of 2 people to share pain and talk about it in an open and loving and genuine way. So that's why, Rhonda, for me, the word, forgiveness, it just has a really dirty feel to me. It sounds like an avoidance thing for people who don't want to deal with things. But I'm probably there's a beautiful side to forgiveness too, like what you were talking about, Matt.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying, David. I agree with you about apologies, or I guess I agree with the Buddha when it comes to apologies sucking. Because I think it's often there's a demand in there. Like I've apologized already, and so you're supposed to then forgive me. And I think that's counterproductive.
Yeah.
And just saying I'm sorry is kind of like what you hear at Burger King when they're out of mayonnaise or something. Oh, I'm sorry. And there's no intent or effort to connect with that person. And to be able to say, gosh, I'm feeling deeply ashamed of how I've treated you and how much I've hurt you. And I want to understand what that's been like for you.
Yeah.
And your anger makes so much sense to me would be 5 secrets rather than an apology, which is kind of like, go away, I'm busy.
And sometimes apologies end the conversation. And what you both described was how to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, and to deepen it.
To deepen it.
And to make it real. And that, I think that's where the healing comes often. Is when the person's really mad at you and you disarm them and say, yes, I really did hurt you, and I feel sad about that, and I can imagine how much pain you've been in, and I want to hear what that was like for you and how you're feeling right at this moment.
I'm more on the fence about forgiveness. I don't know exactly how we're using that word.
I don't even know what it means.
Yes, kind of.
I was lucky enough years ago to take a class by Fred Luskin, who's the director of Stanford's Forgiveness Project, and he wrote this book, Forgive for Good. He went to Ireland and worked with people on both sides of Northern Ireland's civil war, even a parent whose one parent, her son murdered the other parent. Am I making sense? I mean, there were deep wounds, and he worked with them until there was a sense of forgiveness and acceptance. And it led to them both moving beyond the victim of their anger and over time reduce stress and conflict. And there's a sense of an improved health and contentment in life. The idea about forgiveness is really for you. It's not about the other person. It's about letting go of the stress that the anger and the grudges are having on yourself.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It can't be empty.
I'm sorry?
I mean, I agree with you both that it takes really hard work. It can't, like you said, conversations about deepening the relationship and strengthening the relationship and understanding each other and making it real. It can't just be like, oh, I forgive you for not having the mayonnaise at Burger King.
Yeah.
I've noticed that
Yeah.
if I'm able to forgive someone, it's usually that I'm coming from a space of realizing that this is a biblical quote, that there, but for the grace of God, go I.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That if I'd been born into their body and genetics and their circumstances, I would have been them. I would have been doing that. And that I've lived a pretty fortunate life, and that we're all mortals and suffer and die. So I don't have a strong need to get revenge or try to make them pay when I realize some of those things. But those are just helpful thoughts for me that may not be helpful for other people.
Yeah, this is where the psychological conversation takes on kind of a spiritual dimension, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can view it as a conflict between two people or two groups of people. And then as you find the solution to that it's coming from a more spiritual perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If forgiveness is done, I think it's oftentimes there's a misconception that, I should forgive them for them, but it can also be done selfishly. I can forgive them for myself.
Yeah.
Because it's such a relief not to be carrying around that anger and tension all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, great.
Okay, shall we do the next one? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
This is Mark again, and he asks a second part of that. Are perceptions of injustice always present when people feel angry? It seems to me that there is almost always some self-talk related to feeling unjustly treated, whether road rage, marital couple conflicts, etc. I'm eager to hear your thoughts about this, and feel free to use any of it in your writings, podcasts, blogs, etc.
I'll give a quick answer again, and a simple one. I think that feelings of injustice and righteousness are almost always present in anger. It's the perception that someone else has wronged us and is knowingly and intentionally trying to exploit us or trying to hurt us. There may be there may be exceptions to this rule, but one thing, another distinction that I think we have to make is the difference between healthy anger and unhealthy anger. And you can share your anger in a loving and respectful way, and to say to someone, that I'm really angry with you right now, but I really love you and care for you, and I suspect you're angry with me, and I've probably screwed up and done a lot of things that have been hurting your feelings, and I want to hear where you're coming from, and see if we can develop a closer relationship. And the goal of healthy anger is to get closer to the other person, maybe even to be helpful to them in a way that you see that they're screwing up and you're angry with them because they're going to hurt themselves or someone else. But an unhealthy anger, your goal is to hurt the other person, to get revenge and to get back at the other person. And there's an aggressive. It's aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes from the side of human nature that I think is inherently aggressive and sadistic and exploitative, and we also have a very loving side to human nature. But it's the dark side of our human nature, the desire to get revenge, to hurt people, to lash out, to feel morally superior, is pretty profoundly powerful and sometimes almost impossible to break away from.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I hear about injustice associated with anger, I think about should statements and other blame as being the distortions that are present there, and those are almost always present in anger. I'm not sure if I've ever seen that not be the case.
Right.
There's another kind of emotion that's kind of related to that. I think we could call it hatred. where it's based more on labels. Mm. And this is, I think we see this in racism or in misogyny, where we just label, a group of people as bad. And you can do that interpersonally. You can just say, that's a bad person. But there's usually a hidden should in there, too. They shouldn't be bad. So, yeah, I agree. I think injustice is almost always a part of it. But there's a related emotional state, which is just in-group, out-group, based on hatred and kind of liking to look down on another group of people. It does seem to be hardwired into human nature, this idea of having an in-group and an out-group. People we identify with, and they can almost do no wrong. And people who are on the other side of the fence, and they're all bad, and we look down on them.
And we go on campaigns, joyously on campaigns, looking down on groups of other people and defending our own group. Right. And there's so much of that today. So many people crusading in the name of some principle or something that they believe in, and the motivation is to feel good about putting down and beating that competitive person or point of view or has a different value system, and that we're really better than they are, and we're going to get retribution against anyone who disagrees with us or has a different point of view, and that idea is very popular these days, and you can get power and attract people to your group, saying, we have the superior group here, and those people who oppose us, they need to be exterminated. We'll make them disappear.
I'm seeing another side of anger. Maybe this isn't exactly what you guys are talking about, but when we see injustice the way you guys have described, and then we feel anger, that anger could fuel us to confront the injustice and go into some action to overcome it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, in some cases that could be a healthy anger. Mm-hmm. And to say, I don't want to let go of my anger until I've addressed this problem in a productive way.
Yeah.
Are we making any sense today, or are we just babbling incoherently? What do you think?
Could there be a little of both?
Half and half. 50-50. David, you're making sense. I'm not making any sense at all. So.
I don't feel like I'm making much sense.
Well,
experts. I don't feel I'm as puzzled by these things as anyone else. If we have any extra knowledge, it's just a slight amount of extra knowledge.
Well, I love your humbleness, both of you. It's very, very sweet and relatable. To me, you're both making sense.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So I have a question. I'm submitting my question.
Okay.
Okay.
This is number 3, right?
This is number 3. This is a 5 secrets question.
Oh, yeah. So, this will be fun. This will be more dramatic.
I was having a conversation with a colleague. This colleague is not a team therapist. She told me that she felt I was criticizing her. So I thought, I'm going to disarm her. And I immediately went into a 5 secrets frame of mind, and I tried to disarm her. And I said, well, you're right.
Let me write this down. Okay. She said, you're criticizing me.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel criticized. You're criticizing me. You've been critical of me, or something like that.
Okay. And then Rhonda said,
oh, you're right. I have been critical of you. I have been feeling critical. Mm-hmm. I have been feeling critical. And then I said, you're telling me you feel criticized, and I imagine you're feeling probably angry at me and upset. I did not use all 5 secrets. I did not stroke her, and I did not tell her my feelings.
Didn't stroke her, and I didn't what?
Tell her my feelings.
Yeah.
Right. I just said, can you tell me more about what that's been like for you, that I've been so critical of you? And she said, well, if you're admitting to being critical of me now, you must be critical of me all the time. I thought, no, I'm not. Why?
Yeah.
It's challenging to disarm that one.
Well, then I got irritated.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And what's your question, Rhonda?
When she said, if you're admitting to being critical of me now, you must be critical of me all the time. I thought, well, she didn't accept my disarm. I probably didn't do a very good job of it. And so how could I have done a better job?
So you want a response to, if you're critical of me now, you're probably critical of me all the time?
Yeah.
And what was your attempt to respond to that?
Oh, critical of you all the time? I think I got into that fight or flight mode and withdrew and I said, that's a really big feeling. Can you tell me more about that? So I just tried to get out of it by saying, oh, tell me more.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you want help with, or that wasn't effective?
I'm kind of embarrassed because I just failed at this so miserably.
How do you feel like you failed?
Oh, I know I failed. I didn't tell her my feelings. I didn't respond to that big one. I went into fight or flight and then withdrew. I fumbled along until I could find a reasonable way to end the conversation. And then once I got off the phone, I thought, what a terrible person she is. Too bad she wasn't trained in the 5 secrets. We could have had a better conversation. And
yeah. Right. Okay.
I don't know. You can see me blushing. I feel really flushed and embarrassed.
Yeah, sure. That's very affectionate that you're feeling flushed and embarrassed. Do you want us to do some role play on that?
Okay.
And so do you want to be Rhonda, or do you want to be the friend?
I want to be the friend.
Okay. And who do you want to be Rhonda? Do you want Matt or
sure?
Or
no, Matt or David, but sure.
Okay. Well, so go ahead, Rhonda.
Matt. No. Oh yeah, Rhonda. Sorry, Rhonda. You're always criticizing me. No, that's not what I said. I'm feeling really criticized right now.
Okay. So
I'm feeling really criticized.
Start back at that one.
Yeah, I'm feeling really criticized.
Oh gosh, I'm glad you brought that up. You're really important to me, and I feel kind of embarrassed because I was actually having some negative or judgmental or critical thoughts that, when I reflect on them, were kind of ridiculous. And but still, I think I did a couple things the way that I was talking to you that were probably really hurtful and angering to you. And I'd love to hear what that was like. I'm glad we're talking about it. It does feel awkward to me, though, that I've let you down in that way as a friend. Could you tell me more about what that's like?
Okay, so let me see if I wrote it down right, and then let's create it. I'm not sure I got everything, but let's see. You were saying I'm feeling criticized, and then Matt, as Rhonda said, I'm glad you brought that up. I think I have been feeling kind of judgmental. And some of the things I said were hurtful to you. Can you tell me more about how you're feeling? Is that about approximately right, or did I miss a beat?
Well, Matt said, I feel embarrassed because in retrospect I thought about what I said, and some of the things I said were ridiculous.
Were ridiculous?
Uh-huh. Is that what you said,
Okay.
Matt?
Yeah, or the thoughts that I was having were kind of ridiculous. And now that I think about that, and I also acknowledged the anger, that she was probably feeling pretty angry with me.
Okay. So how do you grade your response?
I feel like there was something missing there. I'm not exactly sure what. So I could use some feedback on that. I'd give myself a B.
A B, okay. What grade did you give it, Rhonda?
Well, when he first told me, all I was thinking of all the reasons why I wouldn't have said those things, because I thought, well, she's not important to me, and the thoughts weren't ridiculous. But once I've wrote them down and I'm rereading them and I'm thinking, God, that was so glorious, actually, Matt. I'm giving you an A+ because people are important, even if their roles in our lives are minimal. And some of the things I thought probably were ridiculous, even though at the time I felt very self-righteous about having them. And I did let her down. And she was clearly angry. So you pointed out difficult truths that were happening in my life that at that time I was unwilling to admit.
And
Thank you,
that's really interesting, and so many questions we could ask, but we all get in that trap. And then why didn't you want to admit those truths, that I was being judgmental toward you and I said some things that were hurtful to you, and it's embarrassing for me to admit. And I can imagine that you're probably angry, and I think I have been coming across in a kind of a mean-spirited, judgmental way. Those are the things that you didn't want to say?
Well, I did admit that I was being critical. I was being critical, but I didn't want to admit to all of the other things that you just described. I did say, oh, you must be feeling angry at me.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
What is it you didn't want to admit to?
I didn't want to admit that my critical thoughts were ridiculous. I didn't want to admit that she was important to me. I didn't want to admit my feelings.
Yeah.
I didn't want to feel vulnerable, I guess. All of those things are vulnerable.
Yeah. We could try a kind of a cool thing if you're interested. I could be Rhonda, and you could be Rhonda's negative self. And you can try to humiliate me, but by saying, so you admit that you had all those bad thoughts and things.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, because I'll be like the Rhonda from Mars who's trying to understand why I should be ashamed or upset or whatever.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sorry. You're being critical of me. I don't like that.
No.
No. So how you want me to start, or do you want me to start it?
You want?
No, I don't understand how to start. Is this like a feared fantasy?
Yes. And you told me that you didn't want to admit certain things about yourself, and so I'm going to be Rhonda, and you're going to try to humiliate me because of whatever you thought you should have been thinking.
Well, you shouldn't let yourself be vulnerable to people. You need to be stoic and tough.
Really? Why? That doesn't make much sense to me, actually.
Well, you have to be really careful because
closer to people when I'm being more vulnerable.
Well, if you're vulnerable, then somebody might attack you, and you need to protect yourself from attack.
You're talking in general ways. I suppose if someone comes up and sticks a gun in my ribs, I have to be especially careful. But in talking to this woman right now, you say that I can't be open with her, or respectful or warm, that she's going to hurt me. Or
yeah,
I don't. Well, what is? Teach me, because on Mars we don't have these rules. So what?
Well, when she gets angry at you, she's gonna glare at you, and she's gonna bare her teeth, and she's gonna yell at you, and it's gonna be scary, and you're not gonna feel safe around her. So you have to really.
Let me try that right now. You be her and show your teeth and see if you can really be scary and scare me.
You are a bad person, and you're really critical.
Yeah. I feel sad because I think I have been overly critical of you, and I really care about you, and I can imagine you're feeling hurting and pissed off at me, and I think you're justified in feeling that way.
Okay.
How was that?
That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, why or in what way?
You aren't upset when someone's angry at you. And you just continue to stay calm and be willing to be open and vulnerable and to get close to someone, even when they're angry at you and attacking you.
Yeah. And say, Rhonda, are you admitting that you screwed up? Say that to me.
Rhonda, are you admitting that you screwed up and were critical of me?
Absolutely. And I feel sad about it too, because I really love you, but I have been feeling angry with you, and I've been snipping at you and keeping a distance, putting a wall up, and I haven't been very real or warm with you about my positive feelings, or even open about my negative feelings. Instead, I've been putting a wall up and thinking judgmental thoughts about you and saying things that are a little on the aggressive side. Yeah.
But if you're admitting to me that you're having aggressive thoughts and thinking judgmental thoughts now in this conversation, then you must have had them in our entire relationship. You must have had them all the time.
I think I have had that a lot in our relationship, that I've had a side that's been judgmental toward you, and I keep it hidden, and I'm ashamed of that. But that's the real me, and I feel sad, but at the same time, I'm glad we're talking openly, and I hope we can develop a more loving relationship. But yes, I see myself as the sweet, liberal, wonderful human being. But that's a kind of an illusion I create. I'm not always like that, and I'm often petty and angry and pissed off and judgmental.
And impatient.
Oh, yeah. Big time. But I have a lot of...
Okay, well, can I just put you on the phone?
Huh?
That was a bad joke. I said, can I put you on the phone?
Yeah.
Can you pretend to be Rhonda in real life?
So I'm Rhonda. No, is that right?
No, I was just kidding. But how do you stay so willing to have this kind of conversation when you're angry? Like Matt said, sometimes it's impossible to do 5 secrets when you're angry. How do you stay within this framework of the 5 secrets when you're angry?
Well, I like to express anger along with positive feelings, and that gives me the freedom to express anger. But it depends on if you're being perfectionistic. But yes, whatever your name is, I often do get angry with you, and I get petty and judgmental, and then I hide it and act distant and formal use of the 5 secrets, and you catch on right away that it's not very real or warm or connecting, and you're absolutely right about that, and that I plead guilty as accused. And yeah, I get real pissed off at you, and then I hide it. And I feel sad because I really like you and have a lot of regard for you, and then that kind of gets blocked too. How's that?
That was amazing. Okay. Now you're probably going to want me to try it.
Okay, yeah. So, Matt, you be the Rhonda, because I can't even remember all the.
Okay. Well, am I being Rhonda or Rhonda's friend?
Colleague.
You be colleague.
Okay.
Rhonda's colleague.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you were feeling critical of me just then you must always be feeling critical of me.
I have to plead that I'm guilty of that. I have had a lot of critical thoughts about you, and I'm ashamed of that because you're a really bright person. You're bringing a lot to this project, and I can be really petty and angry and impatient, and sometimes I hide it by this sort of sweet demeanor. But you've seen right through me, and I've been critical, and I've been angry, and I'm really embarrassed about that. And I can see now that I've let you down, and I feel sad about that too. And I've kept a distance. I've put a wall up. the thinking judgmental thoughts about you. Now, in retrospect, they seem really very ridiculous and petty. And even though it's hard to have this conversation, I'm glad that you brought it up, because I'm really looking forward to us developing a more loving, a deeper, more understanding relationship. And I just want to hear more and more about what it is that I've done and how it's affected you and what you're feeling and thinking.
What grade do you give yourself?
Oh, a B. I could probably, maybe a B plus.
Okay, well, ask Matt how he grade you.
I thought it was at least an A. It may have been an A plus.
Oh,
that's what I thought too.
Really? You guys are hard graders, so that must be
Yeah,
true.
I think if you re-listen to that, Rhonda, you'll be really proud of yourself, and I'm really proud of you for being vulnerable right now with us, and relieved too, because I'm usually the one who's goofing up in my relationships. So it's nice not to be in that role right now for me. I think I remembered what I wish I had included in my response, which I'm not sure has been addressed fully.
Okay.
But I get a little bit of a sense that maybe both people are feeling scared and afraid, and that there's this kind of fear that she's going to be real angry or glare at you or yell or something like that. And I wonder if she might also be feeling afraid of being rejected, dismissed, criticized, etc., or afraid that her dynamic with you isn't sincere. And that could be another set of feelings just to bring into the conversation.
Great, Matt. Thank you. You're so right.
I think there's this corny biblical thing that I'll mention that will make me seem very elderly and demented. But it's that there's a choice. I think it's in the Old Testament, the Hebrew scriptures, that you can go into the dark or into the light. And that's a practical, real decision we have at every minute. And that's where I think maybe positive reframing could help a little bit too, to soften the blow, to help the person see the really awesome thing about their anger and their hiding their feelings and all of that, so that you don't feel like such a total idiot, that there's some good motives behind this behavior and these comments that are so off-putting to other people and that prevent true love and intimacy. But it is ultimately a decision, like what you mentioned at the top of the podcast, Matt, that there was this neighbor and you were really angry and he seemed to be doing dangerous and threatening things. And seemed like you were very right and he was wrong, and you were very justified in being angry and resentful and defending yourself. And then it came a time where you said, I'm ready to set this down. And that's why I think the paradoxical cost-benefit analysis is such an important first step always in dealing with anger, and right, all the benefits of being angry and pissed off and blaming the other person, and what is this about you and your core values as a human that's positive and awesome, and just list all the wonderful things about being angry. And then you should be able to get at least 12 or 15 or more. And then ask yourself, well, given all these very real benefits, why would I want to change? That's the core decision. But you were being real vulnerable right now, Rhonda, and that's why we gave you an A plus. And was there something about that seemed frightening or distasteful or undesirable?
I do feel scared, and that she's going to come back and attack me. So it was hard to be vulnerable because I was afraid that I was going to get more criticism.
Okay, so let you be her, and I'll be Rhonda.
Okay.
And I've just been vulnerable, and now let's face your worst fear, and go ahead and attack me.
And sadly, I have to run to my next meeting.
Okay, it's been great.
Thank you both for having me. And
thank you so much. We'll
thank you.
quickly bring this to closure, but it's
been a pleasure.
Been too long, and welcome back.
Thank you so much. Look forward to next time.
Me too. Thanks for coming, Matt. Okay, so you've just been vulnerable.
Yeah, and I've been vulnerable with her and opened up, and you're afraid that some awful thing will happen.
Yeah.
So let's make that happen.
You said all those really nice things, Rhonda, but I can tell you don't really mean them. I can see it on your face that you're not being sincere.
Well, you probably nailed me again, but I'm a little slow to learn, and you might have to give me a little guidance here. What was it that I said that seemed phony or fake or didn't come across as genuine? Because it's so easy to slip into some false, phony front. And
well, it was the look on your face. I can tell by the look on your face that you don't mean what you were saying.
Okay, and what was one of the things that maybe you thought I didn't mean? That I was saying.
Well, I think that
I didn't mean it when I said I've been angry with you and hiding my feelings.
I don't think you meant it when you said that I brought important things to the project that we're working on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's right. I think there have been times when I have been judging you in that area too. And so there again, I was being overly nice or sweet, and rather than being genuine and open. And I can imagine that type of thing pisses you off, and I'm embarrassed when I do that. I do that a lot, actually, with people, trying to manipulate a situation to where things are nice all the time. And you're guilty as accused.
Okay.
How was that?
That hit the nail right on the head. You just kept disarming.
Yeah.
You just kept disarming. And that feels really good. And the things that you said are 100% true.
Yeah. Why does disarming feel good?
It feels good to be seen and understood by another person. And disarming feels like you're really understanding me. And it feels good to be agreed with. And it feels good that my upset is being acknowledged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm feeling understood.
Yeah. Well, these are simple secrets, but they're really hard to learn. Mm-hmm. And it's we hack away at them as best as we can.
Yeah.
And we fall short a lot of the time, and sometimes we make little breakthroughs,
right,
which are pretty awesome.
Right. Little breakthroughs can become huge lessons. True. So
maybe you can get back to this person and try on your new suit of clothes here. And then
I'm going to do it.
In a future podcast, we can ask you about it, and you can report on what happened.
Okay. I'm going to do it right now.
All righty.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Rhonda. Love you. And
thank
you all for listening and putting up with us. And I'm getting kind of elderly and half demented, but I still love talking to all of you and sharing ideas, and appreciate your wonderful guidance here on the show, and the brightness and joy and integrity and curiosity you bring to it every podcast, Rhonda.
Oh no, David, it's my honor to be here. Every word out of your mouth is another bit of wisdom that I benefit from, and I think everyone else benefits from too. And I love your humbleness, like what you said, that you feel like you're demented and you're not saying anything. But
yeah, I just made some humor that you missed.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Really? Just say something again, like every word that comes out.
Every word that comes out of your mouth is a pearl of wisdom.
Oh, I know. So goodbye, everybody, and until next time, have a good one.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda David, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.